Welcome to Fatso Radio, episode number 63. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? I know my wife doesn't like it, but doesn't matter because you like it. Maybe if you don't like it, doesn't matter because it's my episode. It's my podcast. Episode number 63 of Fatso Radio, and welcome. And thank you for joining me on episode number 63. I have a special guest, another special guest tonight, Vince Paluzzi. Vince Paluzzi from Sault Ste. We had a great chat. Me and Vince go way back. Me and Vince's family go way back. Vince knows my family. I know his family. We had a great chat. Like I said, we talked about, I didn't say what we talked about, but I'm going to tell you what we talked about. We talked about plant medicine. We talked about ayahuasca. We talked about work. We talked about work-life balance, family life balance. We talked about what it takes to be happy, and how something like plant medicine, ayahuasca in particular, can really help. It really helps him. It can really help a lot of people. So put your hands together for Vince Paluzzi. Like I said, Sault Ste. Boy, and making us proud. He's showing a lot of love, and he brought a lot of love to this episode, and I can't thank him enough. Vince, love you, my brother. Also, folks, don't forget to put your hands together. And also, don't forget to visit volpemartialarts.com. Volpe Martial Arts is KW's. That's Kitchener and Waterloo, but also Guelph and Cambridge and the whole surrounding area. A new Kung Fu and Hapkido school, folks. volpemartialarts.com. Check them out. 2-week free trial for anybody who want to check it out. Check them out and talk to Sifu Adam. That's my brother. volpemartialarts.com. Also, folks, don't forget to check out Papa Earth. Check out papaearth.ca for Canadian sourced, Canadian delivered meat to your door. Check it out, folks. Don't forget to use the code word FATSO meat to save yourself $10 off a small box or $20 off a big box. That's papaearth.ca. I love you. Thanks for listening. Lily, take it away, babe. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fatso Radio, episode number 63. And it's got a picture that was episode number 63. And tonight, special guest, Vince Paluzzi. Vince, welcome, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
It's
glad to be here.
Thank you, Vince. I'm going to probably bounce in between Vinny and Vin and whatever because
I'm okay with all of them.
I've known you for almost 40 years, probably 30-something years.
It's been a long time.
I'm pretty sure we went to St. Bernadette together, right?
We did.
Okay,
yeah, the whole time.
So, folks, Vinny's been a longtime friend of mine and my family, basically my cousins. You know, we grew up in the Sioux together. Vinny's got a lot of cool experiences with the stuff that I'm interested in. So, and it's not our typical conversation around weight loss and healthy food, but I'm sure we'll talk about that as well. But what I'm trying to do is really kind of bring every aspect into our life. What do we want to talk about? This is our radio station. I want to talk about it in. So, Vin, we'll kind of hand over the floor to you, but really kind of a little bit of a background about a view of your course, Vince. And then, like I said, I want to talk about your experience with ayahuasca and just plant medicine in general and how things have kind of changed for you and what this is kind of bringing to your life. So first of all, welcome. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you so much. Like you said, Vince Paluzzi, I've lived in Sault Ste. Marie for 40 years of my life. I lived 5 years in Ottawa. That was a cool experience. I've always loved Sault Ste. Marie. I can't say many bad things about it other than the weather. Probably when I get older, I'm going to go somewhere hot hopefully in those 4 months of snow and stuff. But yeah, I've been on a real incredible journey for the past, off and on for the past 2 years. I've been a steelworker really for 17 years. I did 5.5 at Oklahoma Tubes, did not like it. I did 12 years at Oklahoma Steel. Did not like it, but I want to preface that with I have a lot of respect for the people that work in the steel industry. There are guys that love it. There are guys that need to do it, and I'll never put down the place. Like it employs and gives a great life to a lot of people. It was never for me. From like when I left Ottawa, I came home because my dad had cancer, and it was probably not going to be a long time, and I just didn't want to bury him for a weekend and have to go back to life. Right or wrong, it ended up working out okay for me. So I moved back home, started working at Oklahoma Tubes. It's not my thing. Manual labor, all that kind of stuff. I like to use my mind. I don't like to do things repetitively. And in the steel industry, it's Groundhog Day. Like every single day is basically the same thing. And I've never liked that. But like I said, I have a lot of respect for the guys in the steel industry.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like you said, I mean, uncles, brothers, like a lot of people. And then, I mean, it employed a ton of people and still does, right? So definitely a ton of respect, from that perspective. And so after, like you said, 12 years at the plant, well, or, steel making in general, what was it that brought you to the change? Of course, I want to talk about what was that change, what was a catalyst, I guess, but what was it? What was it kind of just like, I've had enough? Because I feel like that. A lot of people feel like that. So what is it sometimes that, I'm always that question, what is it that gets you right over with that little push, Is there something gradual, or was it a big event?
It's been going like, I've known my wife now, Sheila, the greatest person I've ever met. A lot of people say that because they feel like they have to say that. Like she is everything to me. Like she's wanted me to quit Oklahoma Steel for 8 years. The whole 8 years that she's known me, like she knows how it dragged me down. I used to work 4 on 4 off, so I would say, yeah, but for 4 days I'm good. And then one day she says to me, but you're not, because you come off of nights, so you're not Vince until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon that day. So you've now lost half that day. And then around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, she says, it's incredible, like a switch goes off that I now realize I have to go to work the next day. So now I've lost basically that day as well. So really, and I was never really good. I was trying to convince myself I was. So for 2 days out of 8, which is a shitty way to live, man. Like it's, and that's what I did because I felt like I had to do it. But she's my biggest supporter. She's wanted me to leave, and it was just because it was always about the money. Like I have to make it. It's ingrained in us, right? Every man, you work hard, you make that money, you make as much as you possibly can. And what really turned the tides was I got another job within Oklahoma Steel, and I got quite a pay bump. It was one of those jobs where people said, "Oh, I can't believe you got it with only 12 years in the plant." Like I kind of got lucky. This kind of stuff. And I said, okay, here's my retirement job. I'm going to work another 16 years and that's it. And hopefully I can retire early at around 57 and then start living, I guess.
Yeah.
Now in retrospect, terrible way to look at this. Like 16 years times 365 days is a number that I can't do in my head, but it's massive. And I was about to put that on myself. And that's excluding, what if something happens to me? Yeah. That doesn't necessarily mean at 57, at 60, when I retire, that I'm going to be in perfect health and me and my wife are going to do all these things. No, because a lot of things happen. So basically what happened was I went and did ayahuasca for 5 days and 5 days in a row. And I had a huge awakening. And wow. My wife was with me, and we talked every night after ceremony, and I was telling her what was being revealed to me, and she couldn't take the smile off her face. Wow. Because she realized that I was A, being told the information I needed to be told, and B, I was actually listening. So I got home on Monday. Okay. I walked into work on Tuesday. I went and cleaned out my locker. I booked off that day. I was actually supposed to be working. I went to my boss's office and he's like, hey, what's going on? And I basically told him. And I was kind of offered to, like he may have thought of, I just wasn't on the proper crew or I needed a little more work or something. And I basically told him, you could offer me CEO of Oklahoma Steel right now, and I would respectfully decline. This has nothing to do with money. This has nothing to do with a title. This says I need to get away from this place, and that's personally. And it was not only the environment. The environment is toxic, obviously, but it was so hard on me that it was revealed to me if I continue to keep doing what I'm doing, I'm not going to be around very long. And that's what like the amount of stress that I was a great actor. Like I remember, I think it was Robin Williams that said the funniest guy in the room is the saddest guy in the room, or something along those lines, because they don't want to see people hurting or depressed or any of that stuff. I've dealt with depression. I don't even know how long it is because I've tried to hide it. I've tried to mask it. I've tried to do all this kind of stuff, right? I'm going to guess something like 20 years, 25 years. I don't even know if it was past that, before that. But yeah, I masked it with alcohol. I masked it with drugs, like there was just certain things. And another great fact, to do ayahuasca, you have to be off alcohol for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
something was shown to me in ayahuasca on how I act when I'm intoxicated. I've never had a problem with alcohol, like I don't drink every day type of thing, but when I did drink, a lot of times I drank in excess, okay, and I would black out. But it was shown to me what the people that I was hurting and also the things that could happen. Wow. And that's it. So I've never touched a drop of alcohol since. So I believe it's something like 2 months now. That it wasn't hard. Wow. Because I didn't rely on it. But the only time, I'll be honest with you, the only time was me and my wife like to go to Antico or Arturo's for a dinner once every 3 months, 4 months. Okay. So we took my son for the first time with us as a celebration of me quitting work, doing all this work and just changing my life, let's say. Yeah. And that was tough, having a glass of water with that, because it was always nice to have a glass of wine. But the hardest one is cooking. Like I would always pour myself a glass of wine when I was cooking. Of course. So now what I do is I pour a glass of cranberry juice, I put it in a wine glass, and that's how I drink it. It's perfect for me now. It doesn't bother me when people, like now my wife has essentially stopped drinking as well. She's not drinking much at all, but that doesn't bother me. Like you could be drinking in front of me. And that was another thing revealed to me in those 5 days that I needed to stop. And I did. I quit caffeine. The caffeine one was more, I would only have 2 coffee a day, 2 in the morning. But when I go do ayahuasca, I have a headache for 4 or 5 days. And I believe it's either, and when I drink coffee, I used to drink triples, terrible. And then I was down to doubles, still terrible. So I don't know if I was detoxing from the sugar, because you can't have any sugar when you go do ayahuasca, or the caffeine. So basically, I almost eliminated both. Like I don't have that extra sugar. I haven't cut sugar totally out of my diet, but that extra, like that's 2 heaping teaspoons, right, of sugar that I'm putting in my body. Oh yeah. So, and I plan on doing ayahuasca forever. So I just don't want that headache anymore. So I'm hoping this will get rid of that. That's awesome. Now it's decaffeinated green tea in the morning. That's amazing. Yeah, like you said, I mean, I basically supplemented a little bit of decaffeinated as well over the years. I've kind of cutting down a little bit on the caffeine. But one of the things I want to get into, or one of the things I want to cover was, for anybody who doesn't know what ayahuasca is, I mean, these days you can Google it 2 seconds if you find the answer. But basically, it's plant medicine that originated in South America, right? We're estimating in South America. And it's basically a combination of 2 plants, or 1 vine and a leaf. But basically, it has the chemicals that, it's a hallucinogen. So it's a visionary plant medicine, right, for lack of better terms, or that's the best terms probably for it. And it's really, so when you have a session, or when you're drinking it, maybe explain kind of what's the kind of the process, or what's the procedure? Sure. Yeah. Like the ayahuasca that I do has trichruna leaves and ayahuasca vine. Those are the 2 things. They basically make a tea and they cook it, and they cook it down, and then they have this. It's hard to explain. Like it's almost like peanut butter with wine, and I don't want to disrespect it, but it's the taste is not good. It's not good at all, and it kind of sticks in your mouth because it's almost sappy. It's almost peanut butter like. It's tough to choke down. And what I used to do after was, because they don't want you drinking water during ceremony. Ceremony is when you sit down, drink ayahuasca, and then whatever happens after that. We'll get into that, obviously. And I used to like spit into a bucket that I usually have beside. And then someone mentioned to me one time that they don't do that because it's a disrespect to the medicine. So I've stopped doing that. Now I just kind of sit in it, try and swallow it, do all these things. And is it like bitterness or acidic, or what's it like? Is it bitter? I don't know. Just pretty gross, basically. I don't know, man. Like it's something that I can't describe it. Like I can't say, well, it tastes like, or I can tell you the texture of it is very thick and these things. I've always taken like usually let's call it a shot glass. It's about that big. I've always taken a big dose. I'm not sure why. I've always trusted the shaman, and then now I've just done that all the time.
And that's the ayahuasca itself, or that's after the ayahuasca?
No, that's the ayahuasca itself. It's put into a glass. That part of the ceremony isn't too, like, they just pour it in. I thank for it. So basically, when it starts getting dark, it's always done in the dark. I've done it on 2 separate occasions. One was indoor. This one was actually outdoor. It was amazing, man. They built this thing. It's called the Maloka, and let's call it a huge octagon deck. The one that I was on, like, massive. There was anywhere between 15 and 18 people all the time. You're kind of sitting in a semicircle. Okay. At the front, there's the 2 shaman, or some people refer to them as ayahuasqueros or ayahuasqueras if they're female. Vegetalistas is another one. A shaman is like a vegetalista that has been doing it for decades and decades and decades, and they usually pay homage to them. So the guys who've been doing it for 10 or 20 years, they'll usually call themselves vegetalistas, which is basically plant medicine. And it's not just ayahuasca, it's anything. Like they use plants for everything. Like if they have an ailment, if they have a sore stomach, all this kind of stuff. These guys are brilliant at what they do. And it's years and years and years of apprenticing under somebody and getting there. So you get into the circle, everybody's got their mat. And then at one point, once the shaman and the helpers beside them are ready to go, they'll call you up. You go up, you take the drink. Nothing's immediate. It's anywhere between, some people 20 minutes, some people 45 minutes, where they start feeling some effects. And basically, you're never to worry about the person beside you. You kind of try and lock them out. Sometimes they're a foot away, sometimes there's 2 feet, depends on how many people. And you just kind of meditate and get into it, and you know when the effects start happening. The first time, it's a little different. Like, I was scared, like I was nervous, I was all this kind of stuff. But ayahuasca, and sometimes you hear me refer to her as she. I see her in a female presence. Okay. Ayahuasca is sort of the vehicle to get you to the creator. She's not the creator, but she kind of teaches you. She shows you things. And like I said, half hour, 40 minutes, you'll start feeling things.
Like in your
shaman,
stomach? You feel something in your stomach?
You'll feel tingling. If you've ever done mushrooms, okay. You get that little bit of a tingle. They ask you to keep your eyes closed. You're supposed to sit in the meditation pose. I can't do that. I sit in it for a while, and then usually I lie down. There's no proper way to do ayahuasca, but they want you to be as respectful as you can. So a lot of people will sit in the meditative pose the whole thing. Those guys are rock stars. My wife does it for a long, long time, unless it gets too intense. She's so much stronger than me in so many ways that but there are guys and women that can do that. Usually when I'm getting into it, I'm lying down. And then they want you to go in with an intention. So is a show me self-love. With another one could be show me my fear. Things along those lines. That doesn't mean ayahuasca has a sense of humor too. It's hilarious. Like, she will crack jokes. It'll be, you can hear it audibly. Some people are shown in film format. Some people are shown in picture format. Mine is more like I hear her and I see things. Wow. But everybody's a little bit different. But I could say one night, I could say, show me my fear. And you just kind of keep repeating and repeating in the beginning. And then she'll say, yeah, that's not going to happen tonight. Then this is what you're going to see. I've always been a person that like dives headfirst into things. I don't like to take things slow, probably a fault, but whatever. I'm the same, yeah. So my ayahuasca experiences are heavy, and I get hit over the head with a sledgehammer in mine. Some people, but I'm also open to it. Like I'm Italian, right? So yeah. I'm spending this kind of money. Yeah. I need some results, right? So I think she respects that, and she says, okay, you want some results? Well, here you go. Like the first time I did it in 2018, just to show you the power of this medicine that I wasn't even really did I think it was hocus pocus? No. But did I necessarily believe everything my wife was saying? No. Because I'm not spiritual, right? I don't know how to do this. It's not going to, how is this power going to come to me? I was revealed a traumatic experience that I didn't even know happened. It was deep somewhere in me. I won't get into it, but like I would have never known this.
Wow.
And that opened up, that opened me up. And then you can shut it down. But like I said, I drove for this one. I drove quite a ways. I spent this money. Like I'm here to get fixed because I always knew there was something going on with me. At times I thought it was crazy. At times I thought this is just living. I'm going to live dark like this. Don't get off the couch for days. All this kind of stuff that a lot of people didn't see, except my wife, who was just a trooper through this whole thing. But yeah, I was shown, and then I got in it. Like I got right into it. And it's not like a ceremony is anywhere from, let's say 8 to 3. So something like anywhere between 5 and 7 hours. Some people do it hard for like 3 hours, but then you're kind of just relaxed for a while. As this is going on, the shaman they're doing Icaros, as they call them. It's from the Shipibo people of Peru. And this is a terrible way to describe it, but it's almost like a singing, and they're trying to bring up emotion. They're trying to fight the demons in the room. Like these shaman are incredible warriors, and they're there to help us. And the amount of strain this puts on their body, all this kind of stuff is remarkable. Like after, they'll usually do anywhere for about 2 weeks of ceremonies for people. A group will come in, then a group will leave, this kind of stuff. They usually get sick after because their immune system is just down, and they're just like a selfless people that do this for others. They're just incredible. But yeah, and I was shown this, and my experiences with ayahuasca and the ceremony, usually it's about anywhere between 2 and 3 hours of pain, let's call it. You're shown trauma, you're shown things. I was shown in my ceremonies, I've been shown generational trauma, things that have happened to my dad, things that have happened to my dad's dad, to try and explain why they were the way they were, the way they were brought up. Like, where would you ever get that from? Yeah, I don't know. Like, I would never learn that. Like, my dad we never talked about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Italians
the Italians don't share that stuff.
No, we don't. I didn't know a lot about my dad, but a lot of it was revealed through this. And some people may be listening and saying, I don't believe this. I'll tell you what, 3 years ago, if I was listening to this podcast, I wouldn't have believed it either. But like, I'm that steel worker, that guy who isn't religious, wasn't spiritual, all this kind of stuff. And now I'm still not religious, but I'm spiritual. I believe in a creator, and it might be a little different than everybody, but now I respect all religions. I understand why people worship the way they do, and just because mine's a little different than theirs, that's okay. And I've always known that through like Hindu and Buddhist and anybody. They study the Quran. I now I understand it. I thought you lived and then you died, and then there was nothing after. Through this, at the beginning of March when I went, I was also shown the afterlife and what it's about. My brother passed away 10 years ago from a brain tumor. I was actively talking to him. Now, I'm not saying I'm speaking, like, conversation. He's beside me a lot of the time. Like, he's telling me this.
During the ceremony, you mean? Like, while?
During the ceremony, yeah. I've never been able to connect with him, a touch in meditation, but I've never been able to connect with him like that again. I'm hoping to get back to that. But yeah, like a conversation, man, like a conversation. Wow. And that it's not made up. It can't be. Like, it was beautiful. Like, I haven't talked to the man in 10 years, right? He was young. I'm still I'm still a little angry about that one. Like my dad passed away as well. That one, he was retired for 20 years. He lived to 72. That one I got over. It was sad, all those things. Brother, I was angry, taken away way too soon. And I'll be honest with you, I wanted it to be me at that time. I was just in such a dark place and stuff that I just said, why couldn't you take me instead? Like he had a family and all these things, but I was in such a dark place that I was angry that they took him. But being able to connect like that can't happen any other way.
That's amazing.
And then there was 5 days of that, and this last time I went.
So this is all your first time. So this is like it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes this works.
It depends how open you are.
Okay.
I find like the other great thing about ayahuasca is the people that you meet for the week that you're there.
Okay.
I fell in love with guys in a week. Like we told each other we love each other because you're sharing so much information.
Yeah.
There's no judgment. Like they can say, and people are so honest there because you never see them again, right? You can't be as honest with your friends. Like you always hold something back. Family, you always hold something back.
Sure.
There, a lot of people, there are some that don't, but a lot of people are just so open. And that teaches you stuff too that you may not want to reveal about yourself. But then when you hear somebody talking openly about it, then you can start talking. And that exact experience happened to one of the guys that I met, an incredible human being. He started talking about stuff that I was talking privately with my wife about. And then that allowed me to also talk about it. And nothing feels better than talking about it.
Yeah.
So the first time I was alone, my wife wanted this experience just to happen by myself, all this kind of stuff. So I was a little bit closed off from the other people. I had great discussions with people, but this time my wife was there. I was a lot more open, way better experience. And the people you meet, like I met a lawyer, I met a counselor, I met the everyday working folk, right? Like us. But there, everybody's equal. Like there's nobody trying to be better or all this kind of stuff. Everybody's just equal, and everybody has some sort of trauma inside them, whether it is the degrees of let's say it's molestation, or it could be that you didn't feel like your parents loved you enough, or you feel isolated from your parents. Like, but the thing to us, everybody's trauma is their own. So I can or somebody can look at it like it's so bad. If you said it to somebody, they'd be like, well, that's not terrible, but you're not experiencing it, right? So that's what I found with a lot of the people talking, and I've heard different numbers, but they've said like ayahuasca something like I've heard from 2 years of therapy to like 14 years of therapy.
Heard that.
And I've heard one ceremony. I've heard the first time I did 4, and then the next time I did 5.
Okay.
I would compare it because I've done therapy as well. I would compare 5 ceremonies, which is a lot. Most people do 3. Okay. Some will do 4. I just needed 1 more. I signed up for 4, and I needed 1 more to kind of just bring everything together. And my wife already had the money aside. She knew I was sitting in the last one. She didn't sit in the last one. She felt she was complete with her 4. She knew. And I'm so happy that I did. But 5 is a lot. Like it's a roller coaster. Like you see me now, but you didn't see me there. Like there, I'm open, I'm raw. Like at one point, it felt like somebody just like reached into my chest and tore my heart out. Like I was revealed another trauma, and at the second time I went. And again, sledgehammer right away, first ceremony, bang. But then, there are some people that they were like, oh, I had a beautiful ceremony. And I'm not going to comment on someone else's experience, but usually, if you're open to it, she's going to get right to the crux of what ails you. And the worst part is, a lot of times you don't know what ails you.
Yeah,
like it's just in there. And I've been to therapy. I've tried everything, and though I did antidepressants for a little bit, and I got off them right away. I just never wanted, it didn't feel right from the beginning. And then I was just telling my doctor I was taking them and I wasn't taking them. Because you kind of, with antidepressants, you're on them. And then you're on them, and as soon as you start getting used to that, they up the dose, and then they up the dose, and then they up the, there are other things out there. Do I think some people need antidepressants? I don't know. Like, I'm not a doctor, never claimed to be, but I know there's definitely other things out there.
Absolutely.
And this is one of them.
Well, it's interesting, Vince. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is that it's becoming more popular, right? Ayahuasca and plant medicine in general. And it's nice to see, cannabis legal, doctors,
100%.
everybody, and even mushrooms now, MDMA are being introduced to couples therapy and all that things, which is great. I'm all behind, organizations like MAPS, amazing. So there's a lot of people though that are still really afraid, right? And it's funny, I've been afraid of the psychedelics and things like that, and I think that it's a kind of a well-placed fear, because I think we need to give respect to these things, right?
100%.
It's funny, but not funny. But I guess my question is, what do you think? How do we get beyond that fear to say something? Because for a lot of people, plant medicine is a huge leap, man. Not for me. Like I said, I've been moving there, over the last couple of years, and I think I'm ready. I think I would still like to, for many different reasons. I have questions, things like that. But for a lot of people, the idea of either going to the jungle and drinking something, or whether it's going to a local kind of a church area and drinking something, is very different. Cannabis is very new for a lot of people in Canada, right? Yeah. So this is something different. What do you say to that, or what do you say to is it a leap of faith? It's not dangerous. We know from a health standpoint, it's very safe.
100%.
So what do you say to the kind of fears? Because fear is natural, right?
Like, I've had friends say, "Oh, you've done ayahuasca," and I'm like, 100% I have. And they're like, "Oh, I've always wanted to feel that buzz." And I'm like, "Okay." And they're like, "Do you know how I can get it or do it?" And to them, I usually say, "No, I don't know how." I'm in sort of a community, because that's not what plant medicine is, ever was, or ever will be. It is a spiritual awakening that has the power to heal so much. And anybody that's just looking to do something cool, I have an unbelievable respect for it, and I wouldn't even tell them where to go. Somebody that comes to me, like, it was amazing. When I came home, I posted that picture of me quitting Sault Ste on Facebook. The likes, I didn't really care about. It was some of the comments, and then the people that instant message me or direct message me, because I knew they were trying to find out things, right? How anybody that's suffering anything like that, I will drop everything to help somebody like that. I will put you in touch with somebody to talk to go do it. Like, we talked earlier, the Way of the Light Temple in Peru, that's a totally legal, ayahuasca is legal in Peru. You can go to the website, you can contact them, they can answer all your questions. I've never done it in Peru. Me and my wife are going to do it at some point. And it's totally safe. Now, you have to be careful, because like anything that money's involved, there are shaman that will rip you off, or it can be dangerous. So I would always do your research. I know, like, one of the shamans that I worked with twice, he apprenticed there, and he raves about it, and that's the one that I know that's safe. I'm sure there's other ones. There's Costa Rica, all these kind of places. The leap of faith for me, in 2018, I basically had a mini breakdown, and right away my wife jumped into action. She's a healer, she's a helper, and she got to her friends, her contacts, and what I did was the Hoffman process, which a lot of people don't know about, but I did that in July. It actually went to Port Dover for the first time. Normally people have to go, I think it's north of Calgary, and what that is a week of intensive therapy where no cell phone, no contact with the outside world, and you're more or less learning about parental trauma, things your parents have done to you. And that doesn't mean molestation. It's just, we carry a lot of that weight, and it could be not being heard. It could be not, like a lot of parents. I don't do this now. I let my son Luca get angry and all this kind of stuff, but we were shut down from that stuff. You can't get angry. You're a kid. Well, where's that going to go? We suppress it, and we do all this kind of stuff. And that's what our parents taught us to do. They didn't knowingly do it.
That's what they were taught to do. Yeah.
But it happened. So like even one of the instructors at Hoffman said, my kids are probably going to have to come and take this. And then we were kind of like, you're an instructor, you should know. And she goes, yeah, but I left my kids for a week to be here. So my kids have not seen me for a week. That could scar them. That's like, something. Where's mommy? And all this kind of stuff. I never thought of it like that. I always thought it was something deeper or darker or things like that. It's not. It's little things that mommy left. She went to do her job. She's going to continue to do that, but it may be something she's going to have to apologize for when she's older, or her kids may have to work through stuff like that. So I did that, and that helped. And then the next month, that's when I went and did ayahuasca for the first time. My leap of faith was that breakdown where I didn't think I can go on living this way. To somebody that isn't, I say at that point, you just have to feel it inside. I would gladly talk with them. It's just it's one of the hardest things you're ever going to do in your life, and it's one of the most beautiful things you're ever going to do in your life. Wow. Those two words never go together. No. I don't know another scenario where those two words go together. But when I say hard, I don't mean, wow, I had a stressful day at work. Think about having a month, 30 days of stressful, like you're put through the ringer, and that's what happens to a lot of us. I've watched your journey. I just want to tell you, you've been an inspiration to me. You've been an inspiration to a lot of people. I've reached out and actually told you that. A lot of people won't reach out and tell you that because they don't know how to do that. Or I personally, I don't care anymore. I tell people I love them. I tell people you're an inspiration. Your journey has been incredible to watch. I'm super proud of you, bud. Like, I'm super proud of you. And you're changing people's lives. Thank you, man. You've changed my life in ways. Like, I know I've done a lot of stuff, but like now I'm working out every day. When we have our son for the week, he comes and works out with us. Nice. Doing high intensity training, which I've never done in my life. I've done weights before, but now I hate it. Like, I've cursed my wife a million times over it because she's basically the instructor, the motivator. She writes the exercises every day, and they suck a lot. But and I will attribute that to you, because I've watched you and just get that smile got bigger, the weight came off, all this kind of stuff. It's truly inspirational, but truly inspirational.
Well, it means a lot to me, Vin. Thank you so much. And maybe in somewhat similar ways to kind of your experience, right? For me, and one of the reasons, or many of the reasons why I feel like I want to stand on the mountaintop and shout and tell the world now is because I feel like, holy shit, I don't want to save this. Right? I don't want to save this for myself. I'm not a selfish person by nature. And like, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village. And that's one of the reasons why I have this podcast, where no one can shut me out. I'm going to talk and talk and talk. Right. Oh. But honestly, it's like, and now I feel like I get it when people say they find Jesus. I get it because I found something, and I found something that I feel like, whether it's for me, I feel like it's a hack that'll help you get in better shape. That's great. And you fix your health. That's a good thing, right? Yeah. Other people find kind of other things, but I feel like now, and I don't know how you feel. It's maybe a tough question, but do you feel like it's your responsibility now to now do something about this? I wonder, because I feel like it's my responsibility to shout it now. Does that make sense to you?
I haven't stopped.
Awesome.
Honestly, like I would have never done this. Like, you're an easy guy to talk to, so that's great. But like an hour, 2 hours before, like even when I woke up this morning, like, this isn't something I do. I feel like I owe it. A lot of my gratitude goes to ayahuasca. I don't get to this place without ayahuasca. I don't get off the couch. I don't work out every day with my wife and son. I owe a lot to that. Like you are 100% ready for it. And when you understand what I'm saying, it's always different for everybody, but you're going to understand what I'm saying. Like, I've made notes in front of me. I've got all this stuff because I didn't want to say something wrong, because that's how much respect I have for her. She changed my life. right? Like this does not happen without ayahuasca. So if somebody just says, you know what, well, and there is a cost and all these things. That's the downside of it. I'm hoping it gets more popular where, like in Sault Ste. Marie, there's nowhere to do it. Like the closest place I could do it, I believe, is like 7-8 hours away. I hope it's more available. Like I know now there's a church in Toronto that's opened up and they're able to do it that way. Amazing. And he respects, I did a little research on him as well. He respects the medicine, all that kind of stuff. Amazing. Yeah, like how can you not possibly, like people, how can you not spend, let's just say $3,000 or $4,000? It's a lot of money, and especially at this time, but let's get past that. Everybody, finances get back in order. $3,000 or $4,000 to possibly change your life. I guarantee you your life will change in some way. I'm not saying it's going to be earth shattering. It could be. I feel like mine has. The other thing that people don't talk about with ayahuasca, the integration process once you get home. If you, like my buzz, let's call it a buzz, wore off after about a month, where I felt like I was just walking on clouds and stuff like that, right? That doesn't last. When I landed in Toronto, I instantly felt a little bit of panic and stuff because now I was back to reality, right? I'm not in this beautiful place. I'm not with these beautiful people. Now we've got a lot of things happening. Got past that, got home, basically stayed home for a while. And, but like now I meditate, I try and meditate every day. I'm working out. I'm reading books. Like I read The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, great book. I read The Alchemist, great book. I'm currently reading In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts by Gabor Mate to learn more about addictions and things like that. Gabor Mate is an
awesome,
unbelievable Canadian doctor, and he's heavy into the use and the benefits of ayahuasca. That's another thing. People have gone to do ayahuasca and they've never done drugs again. It's not 100% and nothing is foolproof, but that has happened. It's worked with eating disorders, depression, all this kind of stuff. But the major thing is when you get home, you have to have an integration process and just kind of keep it going, because you can't really go do it like if it was up to me, I would do it once a month. I would go for 3 days once a month. Impossible to do. Hopefully one day financially I'll be able to do something like that, and I will do it. Like I'd love to do it once every 2 months, once a month or once every 2 months. I would love to go, and the more you do it, the less you have to do it. Like you don't have to sit for those 5 days. You can get where you're going in 2 sessions, 3 ceremonies, things like that. Okay. I had to be shown a lot, so I knew I had to do a lot.
I imagine it's a quite to learn, right? You kind of got to get into it a bit, right? Like
yeah,
like kind of get tuned in, maybe,
But even with me, like for the ayahuasca, you mean?
Yeah,
like I wasn't tuned in. Like I wasn't spiritual. I didn't meditate. I was like that steelworker guy. I drank.
So you weren't even ready for it then? Did people say they're ready? You weren't even ready?
No, like you're so far past that. Like so far past that. Like I was not in your position when, like I was depressed, scared, and I felt like I had no alternative. So I took a leap of faith because I trusted my wife. I trusted my wife's friends that also do it. And okay, let's go. Like, what do I have to lose here? I have nothing to lose. Wow. And I didn't know what I was doing, all this kind of stuff. I kind of took some pointers, but really, like, she's going to be like my first ceremony ever was gentle. Like I didn't, like I said, when I got hit over the scissors, that was more like the second night. Okay. That was when I got it. It was kind of like, okay, here I am. This is how I feel. Let's do this. The next night, whack, sledgehammer, and then it just progressed from there. Okay. And it was beautiful. That the end of that time was beautiful. The end of this time was surreal. Like just surreal how it all ended and how she tied all 5 things together. I was able to release a huge amount of trauma in 2 different times, right? In 2018 and 2020. Wow. Like at points thinking that I was crazy. Like, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel depressed? Now I can't speak for the future, but it's been a month and a half, and I've had a bad day, but I haven't had 2 bad days, 3 bad days, a bad month, bad 3 months, and all those things that I'm saying, like TV, like I would just numb out with television, I'd numb out with alcohol, I'd numb out with marijuana, which I still do, but now I don't numb. I do love, I've always loved it, right? So I can't numb out with alcohol anymore because I refuse to. Television is kept at a very minimal thing now. And I choose when I want to watch a movie or something and have an edible. Like that's, but I'm not numbing out. Like the meditation has helped me a lot. And I've taken the lessons that she's given me in doing ayahuasca and just kept those and just kept using them and asking for them. And like some incredible things happen in ceremony. And like I said about those people around you, they're gone. Like another thing about ayahuasca is you purge. I watched I watched her, like there was a strand of DNA and she was cleansing generational trauma from my grandfather. I don't know if it went anywhere past that, but I want to say from my grandfather, my dad, and me. And she was wrenching on it. And as she's doing this, I was not forced, but I had to throw up. So you always have a bucket beside you.
Okay.
It happens a lot. I'm a very loud purger, so I feel sorry for the people that sit next to me because I guarantee you they're hearing that. But in my last 5 days, 5 ceremonies that I did it, I probably threw up 40 times. And
are you drinking water? Like you're hydrated? You're okay?
So you can't. No, not during ceremony. But they want that out of you. Those are the toxins in your body. That's part of your trauma. That like when she was wrenching on that DNA, I can feel it inside me, and it's got to come out, right? Because those toxins are being released. Like again, people could think I have a hard time believing this.
I was gonna say that's a leap for a lot of people, right? And that's quite the visual. I mean, I can kind of visualize a little bit because I've been kind of surrounding myself with this idea. But for a lot of people, let's put our not skeptical hat, but let's put our kind of outsider hat on for a second. Like the idea of trauma, is it something like you're reminded of things, you were shown, you were given ideas, you're basically shown these things, but not in a traditional shown sense, right? Like how would you?
I was basically told. Like I said, mine's
like a
audible.
voice. Wow. So actually, like
I was told
this happened, Vinny. Like it was actually wow.
And I didn't know both times. I had no idea. Wow. Like this isn't something that I thought about and then I just put in the back of my mind and just totally didn't know. Amazing. Totally didn't know. Amazing. And that never would have came out with therapy. I believe the therapists were getting close at certain times. Okay. And that's when I stopped going. And I would tell my wife, I don't like her. She's not, I'm just wasting money. I'm doing that stuff. So I do believe they were getting there. I would have never allowed them to get there. I had no choice here.
Interesting you said that because I've heard that kind of in the past that, and this is probably the reason why people reference it's like many years of therapy because it gets you past humps that our natural instinct, as humans hold us back to. So what therapy could do, right, if we let it, right?
Yes.
So this is like that push that like, get through that. Then you see this, another. So that makes sense then? Okay. Cause I've heard that referred to in the past.
100%.
Good.
Or you're shown it.
You get like actually shown.
This is the way I see it. This is the way I think of it. If she believes that you can handle it, it's just there. Wow. So I wasn't like, like my intention wasn't show me my trauma. Yeah. Like that wasn't like my first intention was like I never really loved myself, right? I could show love to other people, but I could never show love to myself. So in fact, that was affecting my love for other people because if you don't love yourself first, you're behind the 8 ball right off the hop. But that was my intention. So I was hoping she was gonna, give me a warm, gentle hug and say, you're a great person. You're all, that's not how this works. And got hit over the head with a sledgehammer. And shown, like I said, some people hear it, some people see words, some people see like a movie, some people see pictures. I was just told. bang. And then it's not like, and you're not just told and then you're just left. Like, and then there is deep feeling of this, because you have to feel it. That's another major thing of ayahuasca. Like, I've never done this, but I believe if I wanted to slow the pace down, and I have slowed the pace down, like I've asked her, I said, like, can I have 5 minutes here? Like I need, because it's so intense in your core, like in your chest. And at certain points you think you can't take anymore. But when you push through that, that's when the beauty happens. Wow. You have to feel it, but you have to release it. And you can't release it until you move through it. And it can happen remarkably quick. Wow. But it may happen, like then it was also dealt with the next night in ceremony. It's incredible. Like it's very personal, where people can talk about ayahuasca, but like there's no game plan. Like I can't tell you this is what's going to happen when you go. I'm going to tell you that you're going to be grateful and you're going to be shown things that are terrible and all this kind of stuff. But if you are open to it and fight through it, you will feel, I'm not going to put a percentage on it, but you will feel a lot better when it's over.
Wow. You know, and I've heard that a lot. I've heard that, you know, people refer to like getting download information, right? Just kind of, you know, you're just presented so much information, so much, whether it's enlightenment or whatever you want to call it, it's information. It really kind of, you know, makes you question the whole idea of information itself. You know what I mean? Like we're kind of technology, we're trying to get the fastest cell phones and the fastest internet connection, when all we got to do is quiet our minds, meditate. You know, not all we got to do, but, you know, there's other natural ways to actually get some real knowledge.
Wow. I was plugged into the universe, but I was plugged into the universe. Like at one point, another unbelievable, my brother was there. He's not in, like, I don't see his face anymore. He's like an energy, right? Okay. I never saw his face, but I knew it was him. We talked, but it's an energy, right?
So just to interrupt through that, was that startling? Because for a lot of people, I think that would be be scary to have, you know, someone who's passed. Is it not scary that moment?
Me and my wife are connected so deeply. The night before, my brother appeared to her and said, I'm here. Her angel was revealed to her. It's not my brother. It's somebody else for her. My brother was there. And he said, he basically made it known that I can't appear. He didn't appear till the last night. Wow. Because I needed to go through what I was going through, because that would have been a distraction to me, right? This was kind of like my, if you want to call it a reward, or to be able to show, like, I think ayahuasca wanted to show me her power and what can happen if you really, really, if you really tap in. So that was my last night. So I knew it was coming, because my wife had said that I talked to Anthony and stuff. Crazy stuff. Crazy. Wow. Like, that's crazy shit. Man.
That's crazy, man.
And we're just like two normal people. Like, it's not like I don't preach. I don't, like, it's not my job. Like, I came home and I'm still the same guy. Like, I swear, it didn't change. It changed my perception. It changed how I view things. It changed, I love greater and all this kind of stuff, but I'm still the same guy. Like, I'm funny. Like my wife, the same thing. Like, I think people expect you, well, like, what are they going to, like, start preaching and stuff too? No. I'll answer any question anybody has for me, but I know what this did. Like, it's not like now I'm a different person. Like, we're still two idiots, like, watching movies, cracking jokes and shit like that, right? Yeah. But it's some powerful stuff. And like the fourth night, I think it was, we were outside, you see the stars, all this kind of stuff, and she told me to look up, so I did, and the moon was right above me. And this is crazy again, but it kind of penetrated this is your third eye, I think. Yep. Right? It was penetrating, and at one point I had to look away. Like it was like a beam of light. And then she's like, you can't do this. And then at one point I kind of just surrendered and was taking it, and I wasn't sure if this beam of light was going to pick me up, if I would, like, it was so intense, man. Like the most
Wow.
intense thing that's ever happened. I don't know if she was cleansing me of stuff. I don't know if she was trying to connect me spiritually. That I couldn't figure out. It was intense. And as soon as I surrendered and I said, okay, well, if, you know, and you got to remember you're in a certain state, right?
Yeah.
It's not like this just happened right away. Like I'm deep into the ayahuasca. I was like, okay, well, if you're going to take me up into wherever, go ahead. And it was just, and obviously nothing like that happened, but it was, I believe there was information given. I believe there was spirituality given. I believe there was a connection made. It just, and you got to remember, like, I'm not spiritual, right?
Yeah,
I wasn't spiritual. I'm just a normal guy
yeah.
who thought this would have been hocus pocus 3 years ago before I went the first time. All this kind of stuff. If somebody would have told me this story, I knew you would understand. Because, and then the other thing, like a lot of stuff's being done with psilocybin now.
Yeah.
Ceremonies are done like that as well. I actually met somebody who does them in Vancouver,
That's cool.
and he's getting a lot of results through it. But yeah,
That's amazing.
A journey like some of the stuff I won't even tell people. Like I'll tell my wife and I'll tell you like off camera because
Sure.
you would never believe it, right?
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. You know, it's
and
funny.
then at one point,
Yeah, go ahead, sir. No,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
At one point, like I was working on my self-esteem to try and like I would always view the shaman as these great people. I viewed the helpers, these great people, lawyers, like all this stuff. But I was just a steel worker. That's what I used to call myself all the time. You know, I'm just a steel worker. At one point, the whole Maloka went white. Everybody disappeared, and there was just the two shaman and the helpers. This is my perception, right? The shaman are actually doing their work, so I'm viewing it this way. This isn't actually happening with them, but the whole thing went white, and they just told me. And I was sitting up straight. I always slouch. I have terrible posture, but for the first time, for about an hour, I sit perfectly straight in a meditative pose. And I just felt, and the shaman looked at me and he said, "Welcome to the table." And I'm like, "You don't want me to become a shaman, do you?" And they're like, "No, you're an equal. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter what your job is. It doesn't matter what you look at your job is or the person. We're all equals." And just for an hour, I sat there and reveled in this, like this. I've fallen in love with myself. It was incredible.
That's awesome.
And that lasted for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess the next kind of obvious question is, what's next? Because you did mention, I think you mentioned briefly about you're going to do this. It's probably your intention, I guess, to do this somewhat regularly, as far as maybe a monthly thing or a once a year thing. I've heard of people do once a year or twice a week or twice a year rather, many different intervals. But aside from that, kind of, do you think? What do you think? Does this mean something else for you as far as I don't know. What does this mean for you as far as getting into the plant medicine itself? Do you feel like you have a role in that?
I believe not in the plant medicine. Like if anything were to happen in this area, I'd love to become a helper. To become a vegetista or a shaman is years and years of apprenticeship, being away from your family, doing all this stuff. I would love for
A helper, like you were saying?
My dream is that it becomes legal and it's done around here, and for me to become a helper. Like the helpers, the two that we had, unbelievable people. They don't drink ayahuasca. Some places they will drink a little bit of ayahuasca and be in it. Where I was a little bit like there was a bridge and there were stairs and stuff. So they want to be able to help people to the bathroom if they have to go, anything like that, and they don't want to be in it. So they were they didn't drink. But just I would love to do it in that capacity somehow. I do see myself as a healer now. Like when I came back, I saw myself doing counseling somehow. I feel like that's still going to be an avenue I pursue. Me and my wife, like I had told you off camera, I'm going to apprentice under her. Not really apprentice, but I'm going to do her presentations or trainings, learn as much as I can. And my wife is developing a relationship model to to be able to bring couples in and be able to do work. And she wants me there as well because I did transform and I'm going to continue to transform. So the guys will love to see that, right? Women as well, but the guys, like they're probably, a lot of guys don't want to go to things like that. But if they see not normal, but a guy that used to be like them before.
Regular Joe Blow, yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And then, so I'm hoping to do that.
Nice.
Getting my real estate license, and I feel like I could touch people that way as well. That's another goal of mine, and I'm currently doing that. I see myself being a healer and helping people and just speaking my truth. Like a lot of people don't like to go to a therapist or whatnot because, it's just their education or things like that. But like I got a lot of personal messages after I made that Facebook post, and I was helping guys, and they're like, "You're not even talking like the same guy you are." And I said, "Well, I'm not the same guy that I was. Like I'm using things that I learned, and who doesn't want to learn from somebody that's went through it, right?" Because I was the guy who was depressed on the couch for 2 months. I was the guy that didn't treat his wife properly, like would distance myself from her, or I would be impatient with my son, like all those things that everybody deals with at certain times. And does this stuff still happen? 100%, just not on a monthly or 3 months in a row and all this kind of stuff. Like my son sees the difference, my wife sees the difference, and I just want to keep that momentum going. And it all starts right here.
Yeah. Well, I love that, Vin. I mean, and it's so good to hear too, because like you said, you're not a lifelong yogi, spirituality, even like, I mean, you probably grew up Catholic like me, I'm sure, but how much do we go to church, right? When we're forced to, right? Once a year, whatever it is. But so it's so nice to see that, like, it's like, I mean, I couldn't pay you to talk about this. I mean, this is something that you only talk about when you experience it, right? So I don't know if I asked you earlier, but did you have any experience with psychedelics at all? Like, did you do mushrooms before years ago or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did it on like a party level. Like
okay, so like as a kid, maybe?
Absolutely nothing out of it. I'd say the last time I did it was, I don't know, probably 25 years ago. Okay. And it was just to catch that buzz.
Yeah. So if the people like that are listening haven't done any, mushrooms or ayahuasca or DMT or anything, classical psychedelics, what can they expect? Because it's pretty scary, right? Especially people our age or older, because I think it's going to help people 40s, 50s, 60s, but also 20s, 30s as well. But there's a lot of people in our age group, 40s, 50s, or 60s that can help as well. So, I mean, for a lot of those people, it's a huge leap, right? But what's it like? It's like, I mean, does it say like the movies, where you can't control yourself, you're walking off a cliff, are you going to burn the house down? Like,
no, totally safe. You're in a totally safe environment. I've done ayahuasca with people in their 60s, 50s. Like I've done ayahuasca with a couple that sat beside each other, and they do it quite a bit. If I had to guess their age, like 65, 67.
Wow.
They never did. That was the question I asked them. If they did psychedelics, they didn't. But the thing that happens in ayahuasca, the helper, like at any point you can yell for help. Cool. The first time I went, I never did it because I was actually like somebody else may need their help. I don't want to take up their time. And that was a fault.
Embarrassed or shy. Yeah.
And just didn't feel that was worth it. So ayahuasca this time actually made me yell for help. It took me about 20 minutes, but she just wanted me to yell for help. I didn't need help, but she made me yell for help. And then she said, you need to go to the bathroom right now or you're going to have an accident. Call for help. So I called for help. The gentleman came over, took me there. Didn't have to go to the bathroom, didn't go to the bathroom. I just kind of stood there for a sec because I felt like a moron now because this guy's, he's waiting a ways away, but I got to at least stay there for a sec. I can't just say I didn't need anything. But she just wanted me, and it needed to be a male because the helper was a female and a male, and it needed to be the male. The female actually came to me, and I said, I'm sorry, but I need so-and-so. And they're like, no problem, because they understand what's going on. And yeah, so I had to do that. And then I went back down, and then about a half hour later, she's like, you need to call for help again. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. Called for help again. And then I had to do that about 4 or 5 times that night. I explained it to the helper, and he's like, listen, we need to do what we need to do, and that's what I'm here for. And it was incredible, incredible.
So they're not surprised by anything. If you have to call them 5 times, they're like, okay, we'll call you 5 times, no problem.
No, like at one point, a person had to ask for 8 blankets because they were freezing, they were shivering, they were freezing. They bring them 8 blankets. There's nothing, you can't surprise them, and they do ayahuasca. And helpers usually,
get it.
If I had to put a number to it, somewhere between 50 and 100 times they've done it. Like, they just didn't do it. Like, I could never be a helper doing it 9 times. I would have to do this a lot more. I don't know what that number is, but these people are experienced, and they know that ayahuasca will ask you for some weird things.
Okay.
And you can't shock these people. You cannot. Anything you ask for, all that kind of stuff, you're not going to shock them.
Well, like I said, it's good to know that, like, when you said, I needed to go to the washroom, I didn't really need to go apparently, but I needed to go, and they got it. They're like, yeah, no problem, buddy.
But there are times where people have to go to the washroom, and some people, it depends where you are in the ceremony, but some people can get, like, I think it's more experienced people can get up and go to the washroom. You feel like you're floating a little bit, but you can get there. Like, I've done it where I was just able to go. Or you ask for help, and they basically grab your arm and they'll guide you right there. They back off. You do what you have to do. They're waiting for you. You come out. They're like, okay, Vince, I'll take you back to your place. They bring you right back. So back to the question, you just have to you have to experience it. And if it's ever too intense, yell for help, because they'll come sit beside you. They'll come hold your hand. They'll come put their hand on your chest. They'll make you breathe through it. And like I said, you can take that break from ayahuasca as well. So you can kind of regroup.
Yeah. So if you need to take, you mean like a few minutes off, or like one night off, or what do you mean the break?
No, I mean like sometimes the feeling is so intense.
Oh, like communicate to ayahuasca, like, hey, ayahuasca, I need a minute.
And you can then you'll get it.
Wow.
Like, you can, I wouldn't say you can turn it off, but you can turn it down.
Yeah.
Or like I told you earlier, now I like to turn it up.
Well, I guess once you get into it and you get a little more familiar, then it's like it's
experience, right? So I'll turn it up because I'm there for a reason, and let's go.
Nice.
So, but that doesn't mean I haven't turned it down as well. Like, I have. But when I go back, I'll turn it up.
Yeah.
The past where I actually was.
Wow.
But it's there's nothing scary about it. The feeling is euphoric. Like, it feels good. That's even to somebody that hasn't done any psychedelics. It's not uncontrollable, and you're in the safest place you could possibly be, as long as you do your research and find the proper temple, center, whatever you want to call it. Nobody's running out of the Maloka and jumping into the river. That stuff doesn't happen. Okay. It's you're in a very safe environment, and most of the time you're either sitting down or lying down. Like, a lot of the time I'm under a blanket and just lying there and just feeling and feeling and feeling and feeling. And you don't want to move. You don't want to do anything.
Wow. Now, what do you say to the people that, if we can't go to Peru, of course, right? If we can't go to Mexico, wherever, there are places that are popping up, right? Southern Ontario, we have a couple spots around here. That doesn't take away from anything, does it? I mean, or what do you think about that? It's like, that's a great way to start. Do you agree?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I've done it in Ontario and I've done it in Mexico, and the same shaman was at both.
Oh, okay.
So it's a very, I want to call it almost like a small community, especially in Canada. So you're getting my experience in wherever I was in Ontario and in Mexico was very comparable. Like, you can get an unbelievable experience right here in Ontario. Like, it's the medicine. It doesn't really, like, don't get me wrong, in Mexico it was a little more beautiful. You were outside, all this kind of stuff. That doesn't mean that you're going to have a better ceremony out there. It's all more beautiful, but you can get that same ceremony sitting in like that church. I don't know how that's set up or whatnot, but as long as you have a shaman who practices, and you have a great shaman, you could have that ceremony in somebody's house. Like that's happened where they've done individual ones for certain people and stuff like that. It's because it's illegal. It's a little harder in Ontario. That's why I say Peru. And with everything, there is a cost. Like even to do it in Ontario, you're still paying money to do it. You don't need the flight you may be able to drive there, which will save you. I think our flight was something like $900. So maybe you can shave $700 off that. But the ceremony cost is usually about the same wherever you go. So there is money attached to it. But you can have a great ceremony pretty much anywhere with the proper helpers and with the proper shaman.
Nice. Well, and I guess at the end of the day too, like you're going in, right? You're not going out.
No,
right.
Like once you don't even realize really where you are, because your eyes are closed. Wow. And you're going inside your body. Like you're going to your core, you're going to your parents' core, you're going to your grandparents.
Wow.
It's nuts.
It's really hard for people to imagine that, right? Who haven't experienced anything at all, right? So I imagine my dad's gonna listen to this, right? And my brother and everybody, which is really cool because I want everybody to listen, because this is legitimate medicine, and I've been hearing about it, and I've been, like I said, my family, my friends, and stuff I've been reading. So this is maybe a leap of faith for a lot of people. This is something very new for a lot of people, but you know, I'm glad. I'm so glad, and so thank you so much for sharing this, Vince. What is there anything that maybe we can kind of parting words, or anything you can maybe share with my viewers or anybody who's listening or watching, because we're going to be on YouTube, of course. Maybe how to get into it, but even maybe people that maybe have some apprehension, or if they, you know what I mean, because it's just kind of scary, right?
I could just give you, like, if you are at a point where, and you don't even need to be, like I was depressed. Like I was in a dark place. I was being an asshole a lot of the time. Drinking in excess, like just trying to numb something that I didn't even know existed. And you're looking at somebody who went and did this I went for 7 days, but I did 5 ceremonies, and I got a lot more out of the second time. I don't know if it's because I was more open. It could be a lot of things. Okay. But I've met people that just went for, their week, and it changed their lives. And if you are at a point where you need something to get you past a hurdle, to get you to just feel better, I guarantee you this will do something. I'm not saying you're going to be a success story where you're going to come home, quit your job, do all this kind of stuff. I'm not saying that at all. I will guarantee you will feel a lot better than you did before you found the medicine. And then once you find the medicine, you're going to keep doing the medicine. And it's definitely not an addiction. It's nothing like that. I don't need the medicine. I want the medicine to be able to process more and to become a better person. Like the addiction to me is growing into a more spiritual person, a more loving person. Like that's my new addiction. Like we had discussed, no more alcohol for me. I'm on the process of quitting smoking. That's where I want to be.
That's awesome. Well, I think it's a great message, Vince, and thank you so much for sharing. Like I said, when it comes down to, we're all in this together, right? We're all in the same boat, right? We're all,
I agree,
fumbling our way, through this, and thank you so much for sharing, because we need people like you and me to it's funny, guys like you and me, right? We're always guys in the crowd that are going to make people laugh, right? We're going to go shots, and it's funny, but in a weird way, we are also now the ones that have to turn the microphone around and start banging our drum, because it turns out that the people need us, and they need the love that we have to give. So thanks so much, Vinny.
No problem, Bello. You have a great day. And like I said, you're inspiring a lot more people than you think, and just keep doing what you're doing, bud.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
I appreciate you.
Thanks. I love you, brother. Talk to you soon, man.
Love you, bud. Cheers.
Yeah. Okay.